Hello beautiful souls, I'm Sam. Welcome to Willow and Moon. Today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, but something that's very close to my heart, and that is 5 things that my 5-month-old Whippet puppy has taught me about myself and about life. I've made some notes, so I'm going to be glancing over a little bit, but I've kind of put together a list of the top 5 most important things that having a puppy has really made me think about, reflect, and the fact that she's kind of a mirror, and it's so obvious. For those of you that have had dogs or young children or any animal or just different things that kind of test your patience and can be a little bit frustrating and very new, then perhaps you'll understand. The thing is about puppies is that it seems to be really hard to ignore. It's right there in your face, it's very intense, and you very quickly learn that you have to adapt, and you really quickly work out what's not working and what you need to change. So let's jump into the 5 biggest things that a 5-month-old puppy has taught me about my healing journey and about myself and about life. So the first thing is that patience isn't passive, it's definitely active. So I always thought I was quite patient. I'm quite impulsive, but I do have quite a bit of patience, and it takes a lot for me to feel overwhelmed and to snap. It takes a lot, you know, it's kind of like a cumulative thing. So I thought I was quite patient, and the thought of getting a puppy was like, well, you know, that will be easy, that will be fine. But I've got to admit, when we first brought Luna home, she was just a bundle of joy. She was really playful. She had quite tiny puppy teeth, which didn't seem to be a problem. She was obviously tiny, so easy to manage. The sleep was difficult, so that was something that I really had to learn patience in, because she had a tiny bladder and had to be taken out for a wee every 2 hours or so, maybe an hour, after you play, after she eats. After she's had a bit of excitement, obviously about 20 minutes after she's drunk. It was quite intense, and obviously this happens all the way through the night as well. So I was setting my alarm in the middle of the night, and I was going to bed really late and waking up really early, and I was finding that it was just grating on me, knowing that you have to function in your day with very little sleep. And it's really difficult to get back to sleep. I'm a light sleeper anyway since having children, but getting back to sleep knowing that you've only got a window of sleep, and almost listening out for her little puppy cries. The first couple of nights we didn't have a crate, and I was a bit unsure about putting her in a crate. I felt like it was a bit of a cage, and that I didn't like the sound of that, but I soon realised that a crate has been the biggest blessing ever, and we've made it super cozy, and it's more like her den than it is a cage. So she actually really loves it. She loves it in there. When I open the door, she doesn't hurry to get out, and we've made it quite dark, and she tends to really go for dark. So she'll tuck, when she's tired, she'll tuck her head behind the cushions, she'll tuck her head under the chair. So I know that it's a good thing. So the toilet training, the zoomies completely destroying the garden. I had a really lovely flower bed in the garden. It was the end of May that we brought her home, and the forget-me-nots were just absolutely beautiful. The tulips were out, the what else, alliums, irises, all of that. It was just beautiful. It's my favourite flower bed in spring, and she completely destroyed it within a day or so. Absolutely. With the zoomies, when we were trying to work out, we thought she had lots of energy and needed to use that energy up. Actually, she was overstimulated and she needed to sleep. So having it, first of all, you know, we were trying to cool her off and, you know, trying to preserve the flower beds. After a while, you realise that there's just absolutely no point. And knowing that you actually have to breathe through the mess, breathe through the destruction. It's fleeting, it's not going to last forever. And actually, you can't keep everything okay and 100%, and you can't really expect things to change, to not change, to stay the same. So there was a little bit of a tug of war to begin with. I really was trying to start bad habits. I think I had good intentions, but I read something and it really changed my mind, and it was, your puppy is trying to become a dog in a human world. You're trying to teach her how to fit into this world that we've created. Not them, not their choice. All of these things, flower beds, you know, pristine. It's just not natural for a dog. So she obviously needs to learn boundaries, but pick your battles, and some things just aren't important. And just letting that go, actively letting go, actively stopping to try and get everything right, has really, really helped. And the second biggest thing that Luna has taught, she's called Luna by the way, I don't know if I even said that. The second biggest thing that Luna's taught me is that I need structure more than I thought. So a lot of the time, I think I've got a bit of a ADHD and autistic brain, ADHD, so I'm looking into that at the moment. They tend to have a bit of a tug of war. So I love structure, but I find it hard to stick to it. And I found that a puppy really needs structure. They need routine. They need to know where they stand, a little bit like kids, a little bit like all of us. They need to know when they're eating, when they're sleeping, and funnily enough, that structure brings a sense of freedom. So I found that the more, not that I'm rigid and I'm anxious about that rigidity, I actually, if I get into a bit of a flow and she more or less knows what's going on, it's much more predictable with her energy levels, with her sleep patterns, and although she's going through that difficult teething stage, I'm finding that it's really helping with her energy levels not being too overstimulated and not wondering whether she needs to sleep or whether she needs to exercise a little bit more. So structure, and I found that in my life too. I've started to think about how I can map in some painting time, how I can map in some admin time, and following structure but not having it set. I think I was really good at writing lists, and I did the same with Luna. I was plotting out things, but I was finding that I wasn't really sticking to it. So I realised that I need to scale that right back and have a flexible structure that we both know where we stand. I know when I can get work in, but it's also subject to change. We don't really like change, do we, as humans? We're creatures of habit, but also we don't like to be caged in either. But this is me I'm talking about personally. I'm a bit of an anomaly. So yeah, I've really adopted some of that into my art business, my dog walking business, and the whole of Willow and Moon as a brand. And I found that the more I kind of have some kind of plan and structure that's not too rigid that overwhelms me, but rigid enough that I know where I stand, it really does help. The third most important thing that I've learnt from Luna and learnt about myself is that I really struggle with guilt. Guilt is one of the strongest emotions that I really struggle with, and I know that it's not a useful emotion at all. There's just no point to it. It doesn't change anything, and all it does is it makes you feel really crap. But I found that this comes from childhood. It comes from all that conditioning, almost feeling like you've done something wrong all the time and then feeling guilty even though you don't need to. It's almost like it's just part of my makeup, part of myself. So I really still do struggle with that, and that's kind of come across with Luna as well. If I need to say no, if I need to set boundaries, if I need to put her in the crate whilst I go out and deal with the things I need to deal with in life. The children have had so much going on towards the end of term. My eldest is starting senior school, so there's been extra stuff, and sometimes I've just had to put her in the crate more than I would do normally, and there's been a lot of guilt around that. And I know that I need to give myself a lot more grace. I'm working on it. It's something that I'm constantly improving on. Some weeks is better than others, but I'm aware of it, and I think that's the first step into recovery from guilt. Do any of you suffer with guilt too? Could it be guilt over anything? Let me know. I'd love to know how you handle that too. The fourth biggest thing that I found with Luna is that joy can be found in the smallest of things. So that moment when you feel like you just are drowning in all of the things that are going on in your life, and you feel like you're not doing anything particularly well, you're failing at everything, then there's these little small moments when she just snuggles into your shoulder, or she just looks really cute, or she responds quickly to a command, she comes, she drops her toy, She doesn't bite you for that moment. It's really, really lovely. And sometimes when I go on the morning walk, I might be thinking about all the things that I need to get done in that little window where she's asleep, and I'm not really appreciating the walk. You know, breathing the fresh air, having the sunshine on my face, meeting other dog walkers, and really kind of talking about the joys of having a dog. And just when she looks at me a certain way and knowing that I'm getting out in the fresh air, which I know is good for me, it's really taught me to reflect on the small joys. Even when Luna's not in the picture, maybe she's asleep, I feel like it's really transferring itself into my everyday life, those small little wins, selling of a print, creating a piece of artwork that you're proud of, even just a section of what you're doing, filming a video, editing the video, getting it up. It's all of these little things, and kind of celebrating those small wins are really important. I feel like as a sensitive person, and I think I mentioned this in my last video, joy is one of the hardest emotions to feel safe with. And so even if you can do it in small little increments, then it all adds up to something big. And the fifth biggest thing that I've learned from having a 5-month-old Whippet puppy is that you are allowed to evolve, and you don't have to have all the answers all at the beginning. You're moving through life and you're going to make mistakes, and she's allowed to make mistakes, and everyone is allowed to make mistakes. What makes us human, or you know, alive and part of this kind of human existence. So I have noticed that I've not done things correctly. Maybe I've read the signs wrong with her. Maybe like at the beginning when I thought she was needing more exercise, needing more play, and probably winding her up more than she needed. She actually needed to go to sleep, and Whippets and most puppies need to sleep for 16 to 20 hours a day. It's a lot. You need that structure. If they're napping and constantly being woken up by the noise of the house, they're not going to get that good quality sleep, which they really, really need. And they're just going to be really wired. The zoomies, the biting, the not listening, the charging around the house, the biting things she shouldn't be, the jumping up, it all gets exacerbated if she's not slept properly. So yeah, just allowing myself to not enjoy every moment, that's okay too. Giving myself grace when I'm finding it really tough, and that has really reflected in my everyday life as well. You know, my business isn't as far on as I want it to be. If I sold 1 print, why didn't I sell 5 prints? No one's bought an original yet. All of these things can feel like you're not doing a very good job, but I've learned to just trust a little bit more and not be so hard on myself, and not constantly look for the next thing. Know that these feelings are okay. You can accept them and you can sit with them for a while, and then you can kind of move past them. It doesn't mean anything, and we put an awful lot of pressure on ourselves to get it right and to have all the answers off the bat and to try and keep up with everyone else. You know what they say, comparison is the thief of joy. And if you're comparing yourself to other people, that you only see the highlight reel, you don't actually see the full story, then that can be really damaging. So those are the 5 biggest things that I've learnt. I'm sure there will be more from Luna. If you'd like to see any more Whippet videos about my lovely little pup Luna, then I'd be more than happy to share. She's just a joy. She's a tornado. She's mad. She's turned our lives upside down in the best possible way. I wouldn't say I'm loving every minute, but I am overall just loving it so much. There are hard parts, of course there are, and when you look for a dog, you don't necessarily think of the puppy stage. We've got a cat who's 13, so you forget what it's like to have a young animal when you've had an animal in your life for a long time. But there is a lot of joy in it too, and belly laughs, and the kids are just loving her, and the play, you never get bored, and it's just wonderful. So I hope you've picked up some helpful tips, and you might be able to apply that, even if it's not about a puppy, but you might be able to apply them into your own life. And let me know in the comments anything that comes to mind, and I really look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.